Hello everyone, my name is Matthew once again, and today, yes, I am reviewing this movie again, which you know I've already reviewed this before, and I do say it is a wonderful animated movie. And now you're probably wondering, why am I reviewing this again? Well, here's why. If y'all can see it. Yes, I have just got a chance to see the new version of The Iron Giant at its 12 o'clock showing on the 4th day of October, which was the last day they show. So, my brother and I went to go see it, and we loved it. So, I'm not going to talk about the backstory of the movie again, like how this movie got involved to be made, and who was going to voice the Iron Giant, and why it failed at the box office, and why it achieved a cult status. So, I've already talked about that before. If you want to know about the backstories, then just type up my review of the Iron Giant on YouTube, or just click my channel, Texas Film Critic, and you'll see it there. And I still say it is a wonderful movie. However, I will say that the only thing I never mentioned on that video is that this movie won 9 Annie Awards. Sadly, no Oscars, but it did receive Annie Awards, so, which is cool and all. So, if this movie got any Oscar nominations, that would have been great. But this is before there was that thing called Best Animated Feature Film until 2001 or 2, because there was no Best Animated Feature Film when it came out around the 90s or 80s. It was just like Best Picture, Best Director, and so on and so forth. So I'm sure you know about the history of the Oscars besides me. Sure, I know it too, but again, just don't want to keep talking about the backstory film because I've already said it. But however, once again, this movie received 9 Annie Awards. So anyway, this new version is called the Iron Giant Signature Edition, and it features 2 new scenes that were not shown in theaters, and it's also fully remastered in HD. So and also, I think this video might contain any spoilers if you don't want to know what the 2 new scenes are. But if you've already know what the 2 new scenes are in the movies, then you may have got a copy of this copy of the DVD and not the older version that came out back in 1999. So this DVD I have right here does have deleted scenes, and of course, when I have the DVD in my hand, I already know what were going to be in the movie, the 2 new scenes I'm referring to. So anyway, this might contain spoilers, so I guess I might as well describe what were the 2 new scenes in the movie. So, spoiler countdown in 3, 2, 1. Spoilers! The first new scene is, after Hogarth first meets up with the Giant for the first time at the power station until Annie picks him up. And then, of course, Hogarth goes to school. And the students don't listen to him because they think it's a bomb or something, or all that thing, because they don't care about Hogarth. And after that one, before you get to the tractor that just got a large bite out of it, we first get this. We have Annie pouring coffee, and of course, she talks to Dean again for the second time after that squirrel incident, and Dean just comes here for an apology because that he was not like that, and Annie just tells him that it wasn't his fault and just describes that his son Hogarth is lonely. And Dean just warns him up for saying that he's a good kid, which it pretty much warms Annie up too now. And of course, it ends with Emma Walsh's character, Mr. Studs, tell him to come outside, which of course leads you to the tractor. So that's one new scene. And now, in between the 2 new scenes, there's one scene that was changed. Do you remember the scene where Hogarth says grace, and then he realizes that the giant's hand, is in the house, and then of course he just makes up a silly prayer, and his mom just says, "That was really unusual, Hogarth. Gotta wash my hands. Will I? Okay." And then he goes into the living room, and then there's one thing that's changed. In the original version, it was, "I want my meal." And as I remember from the IMDb trivia, that originally that Brad Bird wanted to use a Disney advertisement on it, which I believe is supposed to be The Wonderful World of Disney, but they couldn't get the rights, so they had to make up their own commercial. But now in this version, instead of doing the Wonderful World of Disney as I remember on IMDb, which of course like gets rid of doesn't matter now because Brad Bird wants to use a Disney advertisement on the television. Aside that you already know that there was a cameo for Frank and Ollie at that train scene. Until Kit Misley shows up to Hogarth's house to make a phone call to talk to General Hogarth from Washington. So, what's on the tube instead of the mayo, it was a reference to one of Brad Bird's recent films that came out this year, Tomorrowland, which I thought was kind of neat, actually. I have never seen the movie Tomorrowland because I've been hearing a lot of mixed feelings about the movie, and sadly, it did not do well at the box office. So that's why I just end up not seeing the movie due to how not well received the movie is because it got like a lot of mixed reactions. So, but however, I might get a chance to give that movie a look, whether Tomorrowland is good or bad. So. I'm sure many of you have already seen Tomorrowland, but to me, I haven't, and neither did my brother Jonathan. So, but hopefully one day we'll give that movie a look. So that's that Tomorrowland reference. And of course, I do realize that some of the animation backgrounds have changed. Like, if I recall, one thing that was changed where Hogarth tells Dean that the giant needs food and shelter, and then says 37 minutes later. The background animation is, I remember there was the sun trying to rise up, but in this one, it was fully dark outside, which I assumed as supposed to be a goof or something. They had to keep the time going so it won't go that, oh, first it was night a while ago, and now it's turned day rise already, so. Not sure how to describe it, but I'm pretty sure that's one of the only animation changes I realized in the movie for this new version of the Iron Giant. So forgive me for not describing that one scene, but I'm pretty sure for what I just saw when I first saw this in the big screen. And then finally we get to the last and second nude scene for the Iron Giant Signature Edition. After the giant sees the deer's death, and of course Hogarth tells him about the whole thing where souls, they don't die. And then of course the giant looks up in the sky with full stars, and he just says, souls don't die. The camera raises up, or pans up to the moon. Stars, sorry. And then, of course, it dissolves into a television set. And then, of course, you have Dean sleeping on the chair while the TV's still playing. And then, of course, the giant is sleeping. And then he starts having these memories he had from his past where he came from another planet. And, of course, you have the deer being killed and knowing about the giant's origin and all that. So it's supposed to give a background to it. And that's one of the things of why Brad Bird wants to use that in the movie. And of course, he did say that would have been a really cool piece of filmmaking there where you have a dream being transmitted to a television set, which I thought that was pretty cool, actually. And then, of course, after that, we have the giant waking up, and Dean did realize what was on the tube now. And then, of course, wondering if that's really the giant's dream and all that, which, of course, he'll see that the giant is a killing machine, or should I say a gun, when he almost killed Hogarth at the junkyard. And of course, after that new scene, you finally get to Ken Minsley interrogating Hogarth about where's the giant located at. So those are the two new scenes I saw in the film. And I do remember on this DVD that he wished that those two new scenes were in the film now because there was a bit like a money issue because it takes a lot of work doing animation, cleanups, all those sorts of things. So at the end, as he says on those two new scenes in the movie, or two deleted scenes, as I should say, they did work fine without when it first came out, but still, for the two new scenes, he thought they would have worked a little better with it. And now it's 2015, he finally got the chance to work on those two scenes that were meant to be in the movie, and now he finally did. And I do gotta say about those two new scenes, I was really impressed the way how they look in hand-drawn animation form. And I know anyone else loves animation, loves to see when they're all done by hand, besides doing by computer. I love computer animation, I love what Pixar's doing, but it isn't quite the same when it's all done by hand. And heck, before the movie started, Brad Bird did say how much he missed hand-drawn animation. And I felt the same way too. And then, of course, I know after the movie was over, it ends with a trailer for a documentary that are talking about the history of the film The Iron Giant, like how it all went, why this movie failed, and how it became a cult film. So I'm looking forward to see that documentary, and hopefully that I get to see this movie once again on Blu-ray, as it features both the theatrical version and the signature edition. And my thoughts on the two new scenes, I think they're actually really good. It doesn't quite change too much of the story or anything, but it does add a lot of depth to the characters. So I guess we'll talk about the first new scene with Annie and Dean in the diner. I thought it works really well in the movie because if you remember when you grew up with this version of the Iron Giant, Annie and Dean only first met in the opening where there was that squirrel incident, and they meet again later at the end of the film when the army arrives to find where the giant is. And then, of course, they get together. But at this one, you get a little more depth with them, or should I say, more chemistry. And also, what I think it makes sense why it has to be in the movie because of when Dean just says, "Yeah, well, he's a good kid," which is why Dean is brought into the story because of Dean has to act like a father to Hogarth because of when Hogarth's huge mother says that her son is lonely because Hogarth is lonely without a dad, which is why Dean is brought into the movie, or brought into the story, I should say. So I think it really works well in a movie that you actually need to have that scene there, besides the chemistry between Dean and Annie. So I think it works well in the movie. And the Tomorrowland reference, it doesn't matter at all. So that depends on what you think, whether you think it was necessary or not necessary. And then finally, we get the most debatable one, the Giant's dream scene. Some of them say, "Oh, I loved it. I'm glad it's in the movie." Others will say, nah. It doesn't need to be in a movie. I think it works better if you keep the Giant's backstory a mystery. So, to me, I'm fine either way, as long as I still get a great movie, and it still is a great movie. So I actually do like the Giant's backstory, where you feel his pain, and especially how he's trying to struggle with the meanings of life and death here, which, of course, if I want to make a comparison to, it's like Roy Batty from the movie Blade Runner, which that is another great movie, because I love Blade Runner. And comparing to the Giant and Roy Batty is that they both share the same thing in common. Well, the Giant's the good guy, and Roy Batty from Blade Runner is the bad guy. So, for Roy Batty, he really is struggling about life and death as well, because I know for one thing is that Roy Batty wants to live forever because he wants more life. But until the end, when he saves Harrison Ford and tells him the whole thing, what he just saw, and then ends with all those moments will be lost in time, like tears and rain. And then at the end, he accepts his death. So he accepts the meanings of life and death. And the Giant here, he's having a hard time to learn about the meanings of life and death here. And then, of course, I know at the end of the movie when they've already launched a missile now where Ken Mansley acts like an idiot, where that missile is supposed to be targeted to the Giant's current location. And so the Giant has to make this big sacrifice here to save the people, which, of course, I know many film critics or scholars or anyone who has knowledge of this movie does have some religious scenes to it where the Giant has to save the people's lives from dying. So, and of course, when the Giant sacrifices his life, everyone is saved. But of course, we know at the end the Giant tries to recover himself and know that he can't die forever. So because he's a machine, especially when he has that saying on his head that makes all those pieces come back to him, so he could be fully repaired and have a whole body. So I actually really do love the two new scenes, and I do think they work well with the story. But if you don't think they're that necessary, that's cool. And it really doesn't matter, which version you would like, because I can appreciate which version I like for the Iron Giant. Sometimes I can appreciate the old version, and other times I can appreciate the new version of the Iron Giant. And Brad Bird, as I remember from his interview on the internet, he says that he doesn't consider the signature edition as a director's cut. He considered it to be an altered version, and he is happy the way what this version was. But there's a lot of things to like about the new version because of the Giant's dream scene and all that. But if you read Brad Bird's interview, then you may know exactly what I'm talking about. Because, again, he considers the signature edition as an alternate version. So you can decide which version you like best, and I can enjoy either one of them. And I do give props to Duncan Studios for doing such a great job with those 2 new scenes, that it makes them look like if they were made back in 1999. And I thought the animation in those 2 new scenes are fantastic. And I do miss hand-drawn animation, so... And I know many of you will say, like, oh, I miss hand-drawn animation. They don't make them like I used to. So far, the last time we ever got was that Winnie the Pooh movie made back in 2011, which that was hand-drawn. So, yeah, I like to see him do more. And heck, I wonder if it would be something if Brad Bird was going to be the first filmmaker to do an animated feature film in a horror genre. So, that might be something, because no one has ever done an animated feature film in the horror genre, aside from that Nine on Ball-mounted sequence from the movie Fantasia, which that is absolutely one of my favorite Disney movies. Actually, no, not one of my favorites. My absolute favorite Disney movie, and it's also one of my favorite movies of all time. Yeah, I love Fantasia. Just want to get that out of my way. So, another thing I never got to mention in my review of The Iron Giant is that I really do love the message to this movie. As the message of this movie is what Hogarth just says, you are what you choose to be. And you can relate to that, and you can be whatever you want to be. And I do know what I always want to be, because I always want to be the best filmmaker I can make, and especially I like to entertain people, and especially, of course, I like to entertain you when I'm reviewing movies on YouTube, and share it on Twitter and Facebook. And I'm happy I'm doing it. And especially, of course, as you can see, the saying around my neck, I always want to make God proud. And I will always love him no matter what, as I keep my faith strong. So, don't want to get too religious there, but I know he's always there for me, and I will always praise him in every way. So that's what the theme, or try to say the measure of this movie is that you are what you choose to be. And you just find out what makes you happy. Something that you're looking for, your own identity. So that's one thing I never got to mention in my previous video of The Iron Giant. So, yeah. So, all I can say is that the Iron Giant Signature Edition is a very good version. I loved it. I still love the animation. I love the story. I love the characters. I really do enjoy the 2 new scenes. And Brad Bird still does a great job making this movie. And hopefully this movie continues to live on forever, as long as this movie shall live. So, yeah. And yes, like in my review of The Iron Giant, this new version of The Iron Giant will always be, and I shall still give it, an A+. So, thank you for watching my review. If you have any questions about this video, if there's anything I have not talked about, please feel free to put the comments down below. And also, don't forget to subscribe. So let me know, what do you think of this new version? Do you like the new scenes? You don't think they were needed? Let me know. It's y'all's opinion, and you don't always have to agree with what I have to say, but just trying to be honest here, and just tell you how much I enjoy seeing the Iron Giant on the big screen. And I'm glad I got a chance to see it for the first time. And hopefully I'll see the new version again once it hits Blu-ray. So, really love the Iron Giant. So, thank you for watching. Take care. And I will see you guys later. And also, stay tuned when I go back in time by reviewing the Back to the Future movies. Take care.